Hello and welcome to another episode of Birth of a New Dimension. My name is Aurora and I will be with you for 1 hour as we talk about concepts of higher dimensional reality and achieving full multidimensional consciousness. I am the Flying Rainbow Lasagna. If you check out the Birth of a New Dimension UCY homepage, first of all you will see a prominent Flying Rainbow Lasagna at the banner at the top of the show. Pardon me. You will also find at the left-hand side of the page the feed from the Facebook page of Birth of a New Dimension, which is where I can post a lot of the artwork and images that I'm referring to when I speak. So during the rest of the week, in my studio, I am an artist and I paint pictures with literal paint, and I use color and line and shape and form to share information about the way that energy flows in the universe. However, one day a week I am on the radio and I paint a picture with my voice, and this is a challenge because I'm really used to gesturing and using visual cues in order to share this information about higher dimensional space, because so much of my system of perception is in the visual realm. So when one begins to awaken one's higher faculties, and you might even be able to hear, I have my co-pilot, Miss Ashley. This is my furry feline co-pilot here. I call her the boss, sitting right here giving me her opinion. Today I would like to get into a further description of what the significance of the Flying Rainbow Lasagna shape is, and how that relates to my own personal journey, like the narrative structure of my life trajectory, and how that relates to your personal, individual life structure. So one of the sketches that I put up today is the intersection of the brow and crown chakra, and I'm also going to put up another picture that is about nested consciousness. And this is how we begin to understand what happens when we begin to awaken the third eye. I've done this extensively in both Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans and other broadcasts, but if you are new to this, and it's the first time you're ever hearing about this, your brow chakra is analogous to your indigo chakra and is an emanation of your pineal gland. Pineal gland is the physical structure, or quote-unquote the movie projector that projects the image or the non-physical experience, which would be the indigo chakra itself. And this is an aperture and also a sensory apparatus. When I say aperture, I mean a hole or an opening through which light or energy can enter into you, just like your iris of your eye is an aperture, or the aperture of a camera. However, this is a two-way portal. Your third eye not only is an aperture for energy to enter into it, it is also a sensory organ that can reach out and sense other things, and this is called your attention. Attention is literally a limb, like your arm or your leg, or imagine it like a long, flexible fingertip that grows out of your forehead. Your attention literally comes from attenuos. This is Greek, meaning to reach out. When we reach out with our consciousness, and I did not use the word mind. Mind is actually the human mind, and this is happening at the level of the solar plexus, which is yellow. If you refer to any of my chakra diagrams, you will see there is a yellow level directly above red and orange, and this is where human conscious daily awareness resides. You will also be tuned into other areas of your body or non-physical consciousness during your daily waking consciousness, but your main focal point is in your mind on the yellow level. We understand what we're talking about if I use human speech in order to say this. At night you are dreaming, during the day you are awake. Okay? During the day, awake means that you are embodying your conscious, alert, problem-solving human operating system, the human mind. However, there is another aspect of consciousness. There humanity is familiar with the subconscious. There's been tons of research done into psychiatry and psychoanalysis regarding the subconscious. However, there is also the supraconscious, consciousness that is higher than the daily waking level of alert consciousness. And this would be considered higher consciousness, one's higher faculties. And let me just do a little bit of description about what that aspect of yourself is like. If you are not familiar with that aspect of consciousness, it is literally genius. All of us are geniuses. However, many people simply have not yet connected to or accessed that aspect of their own consciousness. Yes, I am so happy to report that each one of us has our own innate divine connection. This is like where you plug in to the universe. Just like your computer has a plug that plugs into the wall, so too does the organic computer of your bio-body suit have a plug where it plugs into the source of higher energy and higher consciousness. When I say higher, I mean higher vibration, not necessarily higher in value. So all of the notes on the piano, I'm not sitting next to my piano right now because of my furry overlord over here, but if I were, I would play some high notes and some low notes and tell you that the notes are all equally valuable. They just have a different frequency. And now we begin to get into consciousness of a variety of frequency. You, as the human octave, comprise a certain level of frequency. When we go above that frequency, you would be going into higher consciousness. And when you delve below that frequency, you would be going into what we call lower consciousness. Okay? And not to turn this into an exercise in duality, you reside within a spectrum. The spectrum is a seamless continuum of consciousness that goes from 0 to infinity. So you just occupy one little slice of the overarching world of consciousness of the cosmos. And within that slice, an even tinier slice, is your daily waking consciousness, because that is like the tip of the iceberg, and there are other aspects of self that are what some people would call intuition, but what I would call your higher faculties. When you begin to awaken your higher faculties, not everybody develops at the same time. Also, if you check out the sketch that I posted, you will see that your higher faculties are shaped like a gyroscope, spinning wheels, which is literally what your chakras are. Chakra from Sanskrit for spinning wheel, and it comes from a charioteer. When they used to, this is interesting, in ancient India, they used to wage war by having a charioteer ride across your land. And of course, if the charioteer was challenged, there would be a big battle. But if the charioteer rolled with no challenge, then it signifies that you had won the war. And the word chakra comes from spinning wheel and is in reference to these charioteers, these warriors who have vanquished their enemies and may roll freely as they wish. This is our job. We are in a refinery of consciousness. Your individual lifespan is a refinery of your consciousness, and as your chakras come into alignment through expanding every single possible iteration of the choose your own adventure world of your incarnation, meaning that you have many incarnations within your present incarnation, many possible peripheral selves, versions of yourself who made slightly different choices or used slightly different aspects of their belief system to steer their consciousness on a slightly different timeline. You could envision your life as being a bundle of timelines, like the way a fiber optic cable is made of a bundle of many fibers. And your consciousness is literally systematically exploring every single fiber in that bundle. And just like fiber optic cables carry light, so too do timelines and your light body carry light. So I use a lot of analogies to speak about this. One is an old-fashioned analog record, like a record on your record player. And you, as consciousness, are like the needle that reads the information that is in the spiral groove of the record. And the record would be considered the timeline or potential reality. So the reality that we experience with our five senses of our physical body is the experienced reality. However, there is a potential reality, just like there's the music that you hear with your ear, that is music that is being played, but there's the musical score, the notes that are written in symbolic format that are not the experience itself of music, but are a representation of the possibility of music. We all have that, quote-unquote, musical score of our lives. And we are, like musicians, playing that score. And we also have partners in this symphony. So you, and I'm addressing now the you that is listening to this broadcast and that has the physical flesh hand to actually turn on the radio and tune in to this broadcast. Your temporal ego self is in partnership with your non-corporeal, non-physical energy presence. And these are the chakras on your body. So if I have not made it very clear in previous broadcasts, and if I have explained that your chakras are abstractions, may I now make clear that your chakras, although they are energetic abstractions and bundles of timelines, are also entities. They are comprised of consciousness. So you are an aware entity, and you yourself are comprised of aware entities. This is like saying that you are a multicellular organism that has a sense of self, and that each one of the individuated cells in your body also has a sense of self. So when we use that analogy and expand it to the microcosm, we can even say that just like you think, I'm an individual human being, and I look at other human beings and they are, quote unquote, not me, and another human being comes along and either, gives you a present or gives you a punch in the face, and you say, something else just came along and gave me something. You are both cells within the overarching body of consciousness. So if we use the planetary noosphere, and that's Noosphere, noosphere is a term coined by a French philosopher in order to describe, as the biosphere describes biological life on the physical planet, the noosphere describes consciousness on the physical planet. So the noosphere is comprised of all conscious awareness, whether it is corporeal, housed in a body or not. So you must understand now that your life and consciousness are symbiotically intertwined with the lives and consciousnesses of these non-physical entities that are your chakras. These are higher dimensional beings. So first of all, one way in which your lives are intertwined is with food. I've spoken about beings who did not die well, and they did not earn the capacity to eat pure love in the afterlife. These beings that are your chakras are the good ones. And that's right, my friends. These are the higher dimensional beings who have graduated from the necessity of having a physical form, grinding up physical material, putting in their alimentary tract, fermenting it with gut bacteria, and absorbing its, digestive nutrition. These beings do not have to achieve the karma of having to kill another being in order to survive and subsist. Beings that can eat pure love can eat the experience of food, can eat the experience of the sensorium without actually having to be in the sensorium themselves. So each one of us, when we are eating, just giving a brief pause here, we are having the analog experience of physical molecules touching our taste buds and exciting neurons and having various biological and energetic reactions to this experience. And you are also creating what I would call a digital or abstract recording of that experience. So I've spoken about this before. My friend who has a yearly New Year's Eve holiday party and is quite a foodie and makes wonderful gourmet food, no matter what, when I go over there, I know I'm going to eat the best example of whatever it is. And one year he made the finest fried chicken I have ever had. And although I usually eat much more health consciously, I said, if I'm going to ever eat fried chicken, it's going to be here now, and it's going to be this fried chicken. And my friend marinated it in buttermilk, did the most perfect job of frying it. Yes, used bacon fat to fry it. And the chicken was perfectly cooked and so divine. And when I was eating it, I let nothing come between me and that piece of fried chicken. I saturated my taste buds. I focused my attention. As I have just described, your third eye is a sensory apparatus. And whatever you focus your attention on, you are literally ingesting on a non-physical level. I focused my complete 100% attention on the tastes and textures and nourishment of that chicken. And I'm telling you, I'm salivating right now because I can access those memories. I can remember it. I can feel it and sense it. And this means that when I no longer have a physical form, when I no longer have a physical body, this will happen to all of us. One way or another, one day you're not going to be in the physical. It could be through the portal of death. It could be through the portal of ascension. I guess there are other options, but we'll keep it simple for the moment. Either by releasing your bond to the physical body and having your consciousness travel elsewhere, or by transforming the physical body and raising its vibration so that it becomes non-physical matter. One way or another, you will no longer have a physical body. You won't have a physical tongue with which to sense the nourishment of food. However, this does not mean that you won't eat. When you graduate from reality, if you have, quote unquote, done your homework, you will have a light body. This is what the ancient funerary tradition of ancient Egypt was all about. Ancient Egypt and a lot of the rituals and ceremonies that they had came as remnants from ancient Atlantis. And Atlantis was a highly sophisticated worldwide culture where everybody had awakened higher faculties. Everybody had inner sight. Right now, in this time and place, most people are blind and do not have inner sight. This means that even scientists who are technologists, who use very sophisticated machinery and have at their disposal, I keep using the word sophisticated, but a lot of complex apparatuses that they can use, they still don't have access to the capacity to, let's say, see through time, or speak telepathically, or sense something non-physically. And in that sense, these highly sophisticated technological scientists are still, I cannot say in the Stone Age. That would be their term for being unsophisticated, because beings who lived, quote unquote, in the Stone Age used stones in a very sophisticated way. Crystals, which are transmitters of vibration, Wow, there's so many directions I can go in this, but let's just say that people used their minds and amplified their minds with crystals in the same way that here, in this time and place, people amplify their capacity with various forms of technology. Like, you amplify your memory with your computer, with your computer's hard drive. Like, you don't have to remember every single thing. You write it down, you put it in your computer's hard drive. So too was it in the time of high sophistication that has been besmirched with the term the Stone Age. Crystals are stones, and yes, stones can be used in a very sophisticated manner. All this in order to say that the current keepers of cosmology, the scientists, don't have it all down. They don't understand everything. They don't perceive everything. Well, sometimes while I'm doing these recordings, technological gremlins steal some of the bits of what I'm trying to record. So interestingly enough, and that is why I sometimes pause and save these in increments, just lost an increment of what I was speaking about, but that's okay. I will take that as, first of all, Mercury retrograde, which I've been experiencing in some aspects of technology in my computer recently, and also an opportunity to redirect back towards what I wanted to talk about, which is the flying rainbow lasagna as a tool for consciousness shaping. The fact that the flying rainbow lasagna has been created changes everything. So I created it or invented it. Like, created works because it is like an art project. It is like thinking of something that has never been thought of before. And I created it on October 8th of 2001. And when I created it, I was not actually the person who is here at this moment holding this microphone. The personality, the persona of Aurora had not even been created. The flying rainbow lasagna is the portal or doorway that I created so I could come here and have this experience. I am the first flying rainbow lasagna, but I am not the only, not by a long shot. And if this is part of reiteration of what I lost in the other recording, let me go over this, that, there once was the first purple flower that was ever created, like a mutation that had never been made before. However, now there are many purple flowers. So the flying rainbow lasagna is the solution to the genetic degradation that humanity has been experiencing for roughly the past 10 or 12,000 years. I'm just collecting my thoughts for a moment and deciding in which direction to go as I'm speaking here. The higher faculties of the brow chakra and the crown chakra have been diminished in their functioning for a very long time on Earth. And now is when humans are getting to reconnect to their higher faculties. Being cut off from the higher faculties was an artificial situation. It was never meant to be that way. These bodies, first of all, your physical human corporeal form, these bodies were not made to become decrepit and age and die within a mere 100 years. And you were not meant to live in abstract darkness or, awareness darkness, cut off from the source of your consciousness. You were meant to be at one with your higher consciousness while you inhabit these lower dimensional, more dense realms. Just like imagine a person who gets into a diving suit in order to go deep sea diving and has a lifeline that goes back up to the surface. You're supposed to have your lifeline so that you can still get that vital oxygen from the higher, less dense realm. Well, humanity for about the 10 or 12,000 years that we've been experiencing here, and for all of what is currently defined as human history, this is big. Your conscious memory as a society only comprises the levels during which you have been degraded. You don't even consciously remember what it was like to be free and to have access to your true self. Yes, I remember what it was like, and I actually am shocked and horrified sometimes when I look around at the world that I currently see and the society that I currently see, and it is often very difficult to navigate this time and place because of the depths to which humanity has been degraded, or how far distorted humans are from their original plan or intention. I mean, humans were intended to live long, vital lives. Humans were intended to be physically strong and vital and not have disease. The inception of disease happened when there was the genetic degradation and a falling away of humans from being tuned in to that higher dimensional, less dense consciousness, the lifeline of oxygen that goes up to the surface, the less dense realm. Life is very different when you are connected to your higher faculties. Not everybody develops at the same rate. Just like a human infant, in human infancy, people develop their faculties at different rates. Some people are very verbal at a young age. Some people learn to read very easily. Some people are very strong musically, and they're always singing and playing music and banging on things like little tiny children. You can tell that they're going to be a musician. It's all good. Everybody ends up in the same level of development, but we take different paths to get there. So, for example, in my own psychic development, my visual sense has always been very strong. Part of this is also idiosyncratic to the brain damage that happened neurologically in the battle when I created the Flying Rainbow Lasagna. So let me say this to you. The process or creation event of the Flying Rainbow Lasagna was under extreme duress. If you have ever watched a woman when she is giving birth, you can tell it's a very difficult situation. Duress is the best word because it comes from the etymological root meaning hard or something that is very difficult. So the experience was under great duress, under great pressure from various aspects of consciousness, from the lower vibrational negative service to self entities, or basically pure evil, which wanted my consciousness to end, and from my own desire to live and life force, and from other hyperdimensional consciousnesses. So when I created the portal, I embody this Flying Rainbow Lasagna portal. It's a shape that my energy field makes. It's a shape that my genetic information began to make. So this is a big thing here. This physical body that I came to inhabit had to be changed in order to be able to withstand this vibration. Have you ever seen or heard or experienced a person making a note that is so high in their vibration that it can shatter glass? I can't do it. This is the idea that certain containers, if you are not, or even if the glass is a perfectly formed container, if you put something that is if you subject a container to too high of a vibration, too high of a vibration will harm the container. This is the problem with the physical human cellular structure. So Earth has a vibration. This is called the Schumann resonance. Schumann resonance has been steadily increasing in vibration since for the past decade or so. Your cells vibrate in time with the planet. Even though I have used the analogy that humans are a little bit like musicians in the great symphony that aren't playing in time with the music, your cellular structure is playing in time with the music of the planet. In fact, we can get into the Schumann resonance and its connection to concert tuning of pianos and other music, that our music is even out of tune, that we have tuned the note of A to 440 instead of 432 hertz, and that this puts everything slightly askew. So let me say, your cells vibrate at a particular resonant frequency that is in harmony or in tune with the planet that they come from, all right? So then here is my flying rainbow lasagna consciousness that is vibrating at a different frequency, and also coming into a body, a physical cellular structure of a body that had been harmed by psychic attack and literally rendered no longer habitable for consciousness. And that's why the previous occupant had to leave. So two things happened. One, a matrix of energy that is literally called the grace of God enveloped this physical form so that the physical cellular structure wouldn't die. And then I, as pure consciousness, as stellar consciousness, vibrating like a flying rainbow lasagna, was able to come and inhabit this physical body. And the body had to be kept alive from both things, not only not dying due to the neurological attack, but also not dying because it's now being subjected to a non-earthly vibration, or a new flavor of consciousness is coming into this container. And of course, we did not want the container to break or shatter. So the vibration of the physical cellular structure of this physical body had to be changed in order to even encompass or contain my consciousness. That took a long time. That took at least 18 months and was a very difficult transition, although not all walk-ins have such a level of difficulty. I tell you about all of this right now. Aurora, why are you telling us about all of this right now of your personal story? Because, so that you can get an idea, I perform an energetic function while I am here in this body. And it is analogous to a bridge or a stargate or a living portal. You could envision like the way that a female who gives birth to, another person is like a living portal. The analogy is that I am here like a carrier of energy that other people can tap into in order to get access to energy that they would not have had access to otherwise. So first what I do is I am able to bypass any genetic or energetic obstacles of consciousness and connect in my own experience. And because I am connected to many other telepathic people, both corporeal and non-corporeal, if you need to connect and you are blocked, you can connect through me and eventually create your own flying rainbow lasagna connection so that you don't have to end around through me or go through a proxy. Think of it like this. Think of it as if you have an individual computer and you're not connected to the internet and you only have the information that is within your own personal hard drive on that particular computer. Now let's say I'm connected to the internet. I have not only what's on my personal computer, but what's on anyone else's computer or any other server in that whole world. And now let's say that you are able to connect to my personal computer. If you can connect to my personal computer, vicariously, you will then have access to all of the information that you previously were locked out of. This is what's going on Earth right now. Earth human surface culture was locked out of having access to certain levels of consciousness and qualities of energy. It's like saying you could not climb up the ladder of consciousness to have a particular viewpoint. You couldn't see what was going on from up there because you couldn't even get to that height. Now it is possible to climb the ladder of consciousness through the flying rainbow lasagna and get these perspectives, get these higher or hyperdimensional perspectives, okay? So on the one hand, I perform this by being an artist. And it's like I climb the ladder, I look at what the landscape looks like, and then I climb back down the ladder and I make a drawing of it. This is what all of my artwork is about. I perceive hyperdimensional reality and make a visual representation of it in consensual reality so that others can see it. It's like saying I visit China or India or some other far-off exotic land, Antarctica, and take a lot of mental snapshots of what the world looked like there, and then I come back to my home world, California, and draw pictures. And I say, these are what the penguins of Antarctica looked like. This is what the Great Wall of China looks like. And you might look at my artwork and compare it to some other visionary artists and say, wow, look, there are similarities. It looks like they both saw a penguin. It looks like they both are drawing a similar feature of the landscape. Or maybe they both saw the Great Wall of China. Because truly, myself and many others are perceiving the chakras. Myself and many others are perceiving higher dimensional reality. The information that I have that is unique to my own vision is the flying rainbow lasagna. That is what I have to share that you won't find in other places, and that is what I am trying to prepare people for. So human math and science is just catching up to being able to understand what the flying rainbow lasagna is. Some of the basic changes that have had to occur within the past 10 years or so are an understanding that math can be represented non-linearly. We start out with the work of Dr. Charles Gates. He gave a wonderful speech over at Bard College about Adinkas, Adinka. This is an African term for symbolic language, and Dr. Gates was working with creating a symbolic language that visually represented all of the particles and forces of quantum physics. He's not the only scientist and mathematician working in this vein or working along these lines. There are several others, I don't know all of their names, who are working on showing as a graphic, a shape or a diagram or a moving animation, the interactions of forces and particles and numbers. Let's get into vortex math. Vortex math is my latest obsession and deep desire to learn about, and I don't know all about it, so I won't pretend that I do. I will simply tell you that it is a graphic representation of numbers, showing that numbers have volition, that dependent upon which direction an impulse is moving, the impulse either has a desire to double or to halve or to multiply or divide. So it's a way of showing the functions of math not as a linear equation. And a linear equation would be something that you have to explain step by step. So A plus B equals C is a linear equation because I have to explain first this happens, then this happens, then this happens, as opposed to looking at a diagram that shows something happening all at once. So you can see even a linear, having to put something into a linear format of first, second, third is a flattening out. When we look at the world, events are really all happening in an all-at-once state. So the really cool thing about vortex math is that high-level mathematicians are embracing the significance of the shape of the torus, the donut shape. So if you refer to any of my sketches of the human energy body, they contain a torus. Your energy field, before it twists and transforms into the shape of a flying rainbow lasagna is the shape of actually two tori, or toruses, interlocking at 90-degree angles. So I get very excited when I see strides that are being made in the math and science community, recognizing the significance of the shape of the torus, its connection to numbers, its connection to consciousness, and soon its connection to time. So one of the wonderful things about the vortex math is that people are beginning to build actual free energy devices, or devices that seem to put out more energy than is put into them based on the shape of the torus. This is literally a combining of the interior realm and the exterior realm. This is what the flying rainbow lasagna does. Brief pause. I've said it before and I will say it again. The flying rainbow lasagna, the shape, it does something special by combining the outer reality and the inner reality. In the past, when you have a torus or a donut, the outer surface of the torus and the inner surface cannot meet. They don't interact. If you're a little ant walking on either the inside or the outside, it's analogous to being inside of a balloon or outside of a balloon. You can't talk to the person that's on the other side of that membrane. The flying rainbow lasagna resolves this issue of duality, inside versus outside, without breaking any of the rules by cutting the fabric of reality. It's like turning a sphere inside out without cutting the balloon. What we do is we begin to vibrate the entire donut structure in a higher dimensional space. If that doesn't make sense to you, that's okay. It's allowed. The idea of adding another degree of freedom and adding another dimension and achieving a concomitant additional degree of freedom, this is math talk. This is what happens when you fold a piece of paper. You go from having a flat surface that is two-dimensional to being something that is now three-dimensional. And you are a being that has a third-dimensional body, but you are experiencing the flow of time. That is the fourth dimension. And you are also experiencing the possibilities that eventually are collapsed as waveforms into the experienced timeline. That would be the fifth dimension. Weeks ago, I did a radio show that is all about building the many dimensions, and I spoke to you about what the fifth dimension is like. Let's return to this concept. If the fourth dimension, the timeline of your life, is like a French bread, a long, skinny loaf of bread where each slice is like a moment of time. And the one end of the bread is your birth, and the other end of the bread is your death or your ascension. And all of the slices are the moments in between. That's your timeline. It's the fourth dimension. The fifth dimension would be analogous to the bakery where the bread is made. The fifth dimension contains a world of possibilities, waveforms that have not yet been made into physical realities that can be experienced. It's like saying it is not even yet dough that can be baked into bread. The fifth dimension is a world of flour and water and yeast and the equipment to make dough and put it in the oven and one day make bread. And the amazing aspect of the fifth dimension is that it is connected to consciousness. It is connected to the experience of observership. I have a little story that I've told, in a different context. The idea that you have ovens in front of your eyes, that you literally live within a world of undifferentiated or unbaked, like cake batter, and you only perceive a world of quote-unquote cake or hard-edged objects because you look around at this world of batter with ovens in front of your eyes. And your ovens are your system of interpretation. You look at this world of pure vibration, but you don't see vibration. You don't see cake batter. You don't see soup. You see light. You see objects. You see color. You see a world that is interpreted as a third-dimensional sensorium. And that is the magical process of your consciousness creating your reality. This process has always been ongoing. This is not new. Being aware of this process is now very new. Humanity is coming into awareness of this process. It's like saying you've been painting a painting and you've been blindfolded, not understanding that there are, consequences to your actions. And as the blindfold is removed, you're like, wait, I'm actually holding onto a paintbrush and my limb is moving and paint is flowing and colors are happening. And then you can finally start taking responsibility for your creation. Up until this point, humans have not been able to take full responsibility for their creations because you have largely been blindfolded. You've not been creating from a empowered stance, informed and, with all of your senses engaged. You've been creating from a disempowered, disenfranchised stance of not having access to your full faculties, not being able to perceive the totality of reality, and not being able to make good choices and actions in light of those perceptions. So yes, when we look around at what is defined as human history, past 5,000 years of what people can remember, we see a lot of paintings that were made by blind or unconscious people. There have been very few paintings made by conscious people, and so those people tend to stand out as very special, fantastic avatars of consciousness. However, we are all meant to be artists of our reality. If you can think of or name one person who is known as a magical or supernatural figure who did things that are seemingly beyond human, you can do those things. Those things used to be commonplace in the sophisticated worldwide culture before the degradation of human consciousness. The flying rainbow lasagna is the avenue or the bridge that will reconnect you to these experiences and to these consciousnesses. So at first, you can connect vicariously, quote unquote, through someone else's internet connection. But the very first thing that you do is create your own connection. The very first thing, it's like, imagine being cut off, living in a desert, and your whole lifetime since you were born, never having any rain. And then with the first drops of rain that fall, what happens is more water evaporates and more clouds are created, and then eventually the water cycle is renewed. I'm trying to think of a better analogy. Let's say, how about at first, if you're starving and thirsty, first a person gives you a drink of water, and then you have the strength to actually begin digging a well, so that at a certain point you won't have to get water from someone else. You will have your own direct connection to the water. And the only reason why you don't have your own direct connection is because all of humanity has been unfairly cut off from the source of direct communication and direct cosmic intelligence. The flying rainbow lasagna recombines the world of pure energy and the world of hard-edged matter. Einstein made a famous equation, E equals mc squared. I will change that equation to put the E on the same side of the equation as the mc squared. So mc squared divided by E equals lasagna. I'll go through it again. If you put both the mc squared and the E on the same side of the equation, it's like saying we are now combining matter and energy. I've spoken about the mental quarantine that has limited human consciousness for thousands of years. And Einstein is one bar on that cage of consciousness limitation. Einstein, although his theory was a leg up and brought us out of pure Newtonian physics, it is very misleading and limiting to say that nothing can travel faster than the speed of light. It's actually not even accurate according to high-level scientists who state that you cannot accelerate matter to the speed of light. But if something is already moving at the speed of light, yes, it can go faster, or it can go the speed of light or faster. So one of the other limiting aspects of Einstein's teaching was putting matter on one side of the duality and energy on the other side, and having them essentially split apart and so that they can be compared. You know, this is the duality of consciousness. You have two physical eyes, and the way that your brain determines depth in the physical reality is by calculating the tiny difference between your two eyes. This is duality. Einstein gave you duality by saying, calculate the difference between matter and energy. You have the world of matter on this side and the world of energy on this side. Flying Rainbow Lasagna says, here is the bridge between energy and matter. Let's stop artificially separating energy from matter, or consciousness from the experience of matter, and let's recombine them into what they were always meant to be. So now we are moving into a new realm that is made of conscious matter. Matter is no longer dead. When you look at something, you think, that is a dead piece of metal. If you look at your computer and you think, that's just a dead piece of metal or plastic. It's not. It is metal or plastic imbued with consciousness. I predict that you will begin to experience a lot more personification of technological instruments. For example, your computer or your car. If you're having trouble getting your car started, you might start talking to it and say, come on, you can get started. Or if your car is in need of an oil change, reassure it. Tell it, don't worry, I'm going to take you to the car doctor and get your oil changed very soon. Or here's another one. If your computer is malfunctioning, like you can't find the file that you need, or the other night I had issues because my hard drive was overburdened, you need to talk to your computer. Don't get angry at it. Talk to it like it's a horse. Say, whoa, Nellie, slow down there. I see you're feeling very agitated. Let me gentle you down, and then we'll see if we can fix what's wrong with your horseshoe or your saddle or whatever is wrong with your hard drive. It is going to become more and more necessary to recognize that the world around you responds to your consciousness. The world around you will begin to respond more and more the more that you recognize its consciousness. Here's another example. If you're trying to do something like put up shelves, and the difference between easily putting a screw directly into the wall at 90-degree angles or having a torturously difficult time trying to put up the shelf and get the screw to go into the wall, the total difference is one of consciousness. It has nothing at all to do with your drill bit, the screw, what you're holding, gravity, or friction. It's like saying you have a variety of timelines, and you can either occupy the timeline where the screw goes into the wall effortlessly, in perfect alignment, or you can occupy the timeline where it takes you 10 valiant efforts and you totally screw up the whole thing and the shelves are still crooked. The difference between those timelines is nothing more than consciousness. This is crucial. This is also preparation for the realm that we're heading into, where problems are not going to be solved in the old-fashioned physical approach. For example, people look at the level of pollution we currently have on the planet and they say it is an insurmountable amount of pollution. There's no way, with all of the shovels and filters and mechanical ways of fixing up the world, that we can possibly fix up the world. This is correct. We have to look at the world as a canvas upon which we can paint with our consciousness paintbrush. We need to begin using our consciousness to paint a cleansed world. What would this look like, Aurora? This would look like partnering with biological entities that can mitigate radiation and break down trash, and working with the metabolism of the planet in order to fix things. So yes, if you simply looked at the world from the objective materialist standpoint, it's like getting a terminal diagnosis from a doctor who does not believe in alternative medicine. Many doctors will send patients home or go to hospice and say, there's nothing I can do for you. No chemotherapy, no radiation, your cancer is too advanced. Because doctors do not know about the healing power of cannabis oil and how the extract of cannabis, the oils from the entire plant, works synergistically in the body and can be effective at treating cancer. Doctors don't know about it, so they think it's a terminal diagnosis. This is like saying Earth has a bad prognosis from a doctor that is not well informed. Consciousness can transform reality. Your consciousness is powerful. You are a powerful consciousness co-creator of your reality, and you have the potential to be a flying rainbow lasagna and fully claim your higher faculties and become, let's say, fully responsible for your creation as an artist. I not only encourage you to do so, I invite you to do so. It is the timeline of ascension. This is changing the planetary noosphere. If I haven't said it before, Noosphere, the totality of what is consciousness on the planet. We are transforming the planetary noosphere, and in doing so, we are changing what is possible on Earth. Literally, miracles will become possible because miracles have been defined as what is beyond what can be understood by the rational, objective, materialistic viewpoint. Some cancer patients that take cannabis oil go back to their doctors, and the doctors think a miracle has occurred because they simply don't know that consciousness has been engaged as a healing presence. Let us all engage consciousness as a healing presence in our individual lives and on the planetary noosphere and as a cosmos being as a whole. Thank you so much for joining me. Please tune in again next week. We'll raise consciousness some more.